Howdy, folks. Happy Friday. Thank God it's Friday. We have Kevin Allen with us, and Russ will get us started off with the pre-show, and then we have lots of stuff to talk about today. Go ahead, Russ.
All right. Let's talk about a meaningless fight. Floyd Mayweather against Logan Paul, a YouTuber. I don't understand what's going on in the world that we're now going to pay money for an exhibition. A complete exhibition. There's no title on the line. There's no prestige other than for Logan Paul. There's nothing in it for Mayweather other than money, which he has plenty of, and he wants to make more, although there's some sort of disagreement going on with the promoter and him. And
well, is this going to be a sanctioned bout? Like it's going to
No.
Okay, so this is pure
It's a garbage bout.
Okay. Well,
And so
yeah.
basically, here are the prices. $24.99 if you were the first million paying to watch it. I don't know how you know that. You have to trust the company. After a million buys, it'll be $39.99, and then $59.99.
So only in boxing, after a million sells, does the price go up? Normally, it would go down. It's like, okay, after a million, we'll lower it to $24.99. No, it's up to $39.
But again, like, do you really trust the company to say, like, when you log on, hey, you just missed out on the million, now you're going to be paying more? Yeah. I don't trust that. Do you trust that, Kevin?
Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
No, but, the thought that a million people would watch a fight online that has no meaning is, I'm stunned by that.
Well, Russ, who was the former basketball player that Logan Paul knocked out? It was a former.
Oh, yeah. But again, he was an NBA guy.
He was an NBA guy, and it was his first professional fight, and he knocked the guy out. It was like a UFC knockout. It was the guy fell like a Jenga.
I'll tell you the worst part about this fight.
Eddie Robinson, that's right.
Yes. If this were at least someone like Ken Norton, at least the viewer would eventually see a knockout as the payoff. With Floyd Mayweather, you never see a knockout as the payoff because he doesn't like to be hit. So he is just going to nickel and dime him for as many rounds as he can, just to win the fight and not get hurt and collect his check.
Kevin, there was something to watch when it was Mayweather versus Conor McGregor, because there are a group of people that hated Conor McGregor, and there are a group of people that hated Floyd Mayweather, and they wanted to see one of them punch the other one in the nether regions or do something like that. There was at least some entertainment value. Here, I don't think there's any entertainment value. You couldn't catch me dead watching Logan Paul versus Mayweather.
Well, me too. I don't know. When it comes to fights, to me, there has to be name recognition in order to, I remember when pay-per-view became kind of the in thing, and boxing probably benefited the most by it. Because people wanted to see specific fights and all that. But now
you remember, Kev, it was going to revolutionize the boxing business, because then all of a sudden boxers wouldn't have to duck other boxers. They would be able to fight because they know they'd get their payday, and that never worked out either, by the way.
If there's nothing else to add, I wanted to get Russ's opinion, because I know he's such a baseball guy, and you too, Mike. My former publication, USA Today, wrote that because there's been so many no-hitters that we're losing its significance. I don't really buy that. I know that the game has changed dramatically because batting averages are down this season, and people are blaming, the uppercut, a launch angle, controversy and so forth. But, everything is cyclical. Like, we'll go, I'm sure in a couple of years, we won't have any no-hitters. I don't see it diminish just because there's a lot of them.
Yeah, Mike and I talked about it we did a podcast called The Game. I just wrote about it for Sportsology. Every couple of years, Manfred messes with the ball. So this year he messed with it because there were too many runs. So now he's made the ball pitcher-friendly, right? And early results are we're having more no-hitters than ever. But we've already been in this cycle of great pitching. Like I had said on the show, Kev, in 68 they raised the mound, in 69 they lowered it. But there was still an era of amazing pitching from 68 to 78. Which, we saw some of the greatest pitchers and greatest pitching performances you ever see in the game. I think we're going through that now. I think the high-end pitchers are as great as any of the greats of the game, and the low end are as bad as any of the horrible pitchers you've ever seen. And the only way to get out of it, there's two things. The summer can help when the ballparks heat up because ballparks are getting hotter than ever. And I don't think Manfred takes that into account when he gets his scientists into the room to decide to change the ball.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, how about you do, if you don't want to get no hit or be a team that's no hit twice, then lay down a bunt, then hit a ball on the other side of the shift.
It's a shift, yeah.
Yeah, just do that.
Yeah. Well, it is going to be interesting. I'm really I was initially troubled by the idea of moving the mound back, and then I've seen the mathematics of it all, and now I'm intrigued by it. So it'll be interesting to see how that experiment.
I have heard some people say that, and obviously players will adjust to it, but that, pitchers are so conditioned to throwing 60 feet, 6 inches that if you move the mound back or raise the mound or lower the mound, that you could cause a bunch of injury. I mean, I don't know how many Tommy John surgeries we have every year, so I don't know how you could tell the difference.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see how that works out, but I could see the argument that we shouldn't have to see because, we can't experiment with guys' livelihoods. But, I've seen the mathematics that suggest that it will cut, 99 miles an hour suddenly is, 96 something.
Right.
And, I'm not so sure that we don't need some sort of correction. Do we really need 100 mile an hour fastballs?
Well, I don't think everybody has them, so I think you still see it is something to behold. But here's the other thing, Kev. I don't think they're taking this into account. So if you're a guy that throws in the strike zone 100 miles an hour, a lot of times pitchers' faster pitches are the ones that are high out of the strike zone that nobody swings at. But if I'm moving a few inches back now from the pitcher's mound, those now may become my strikes, and maybe I'm not going to lose anything off my fastball because those balls, I'm just going to be pitching different.
Well, here's go ahead, Kev. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, I was just going to say, the physics suggests that if you throw the same pitch from farther back, it'll be slower when it arrives at the plate. There's nothing we can do about that.
It's the same pitch, but again, if I have a two-seam fastball that I don't have a lot of control over, I don't throw that a lot in games. But now that the mound is moved back, and I hit 101 on the jugs gun regularly, but it's always a ball, I'm going to throw it now because I'll probably throw 98 on that.
Well, here's the thing,
That's all I'm saying.
and then we'll start the show. Here's the thing that concerns me the most. I mean, because everybody points to 1968 as like the sort of the model of what's going on right now. That was the year when Denny McLain won over 30 games, when Gibson had an ERA of close to 1.12. Yes, but you've had 7 no-hitters this year if you count the Baumgartner 7-inning no-hitter, which we don't, but I'll just say but the 6 no-hitters, Joe Musgrove, Carlos Rodon, John Means, Wade Miley, Spencer Turnbull, and Corey Kluber. Not an ace among them. Means is the closest one to being an ace for his team. It's not like Kershaw and Bauer and DeGrom are throwing the no-hitters. These are guys who, I mean, that's the concerning thing. These are guys, you'll get every once in a while, nobody will throw a no-hitter, but usually, I mean, I'm concerned that it's sort of the middle of the rotation guys that are throwing the no-hitters, and it seems to be all those guys and not the aces. And I don't know if that's good for baseball. I just don't know.
I don't know. I mean, that's a fair point that we don't have the top, but those guys are still throwing. Why aren't they getting?
Sure.
If it's so easy, why aren't those guys getting it too? Like, I'd be more concerned if, they were getting their no-hitters, and then we're also having a bunch of middle of the road rotation guys.
Right.
Those, we don't see those guys throwing no-hitters. So do we diminish the guys that are getting them because the guys that are better than them aren't? Like, I can't buy that logic.
Strikeouts, Kev. Nobody, all of a sudden, you can't have 14 strikeouts in a game and be excited by it. I can. I love pitching. I hope this pitching continues. I don't care about the runs.
Well, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I don't mind a lot of strikeouts. Like, the best games are, if you're rooting for the Atlanta Braves and the Atlanta Braves pitcher strikes out 12 or 14, and your team wins 6-0. That's the ideal game, because then you're seeing, we like strikeouts, but it is fascinating to me. It depends on which analyst and whether or not he is a pitcher that you're listening to when you're watching baseball games, because you hear some guys talking about, when you have the ability with a runner on third and nobody out to know that you can strike out guys. And then you have other guys that are constantly talking about pitching to contact and, saving the wear and tear on your arm. You need at least 3 pitches to strike a guy out. Right. Where, ideally you should be, hoping you get an out on 1 pitch, because, everybody's got, pitch limits. But I find it fascinating. I saw the Turnbull one and I watched it live, and they were making the point that the guy had never pitched beyond the 7th inning ever. And, so this was, quite a strange situation, and he ended up throwing more pitches than he had before. Nolan Ryan said a long time ago that he thought it was bad to put, not to train pitchers and to build up their strength, their arm strength, because, then you're going to tax them and they're going to get, arm surgeries. But, with all the limitations we have more Tommy John surgeries than ever. So,
sure. Yeah. All right, let's get started. A lot of hockey stuff to discuss. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Friday, May 21st, 2021.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
I'm Kevin Allen. I'm not sure where I'm from. So.
I'm Michael Lacello, and this is the HockeyBuzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. Well, thank goodness we have all 8 series started now after having to wait over a week. But it did not start well for the Toronto Maple Leafs or for the Montreal Canadiens, because it was an ugly incident that I'll just say it was not on purpose. There's some idiots on social media that were saying that Corey Perry, because it was Corey Perry, purposely drove his knee. No, it was not. It was an accident, but it was an unfortunate incident with John Tavares midway through the first period. He was knocked down by Ben Sherratt, and as he's rolling on the ice, Corey Perry's knee hits him in the head. Tavares was knocked almost unconscious. He tried to get up. He stumbled back to the ice. They, for precautionary reasons, put him on a stretcher and took him to a local Toronto hospital, where he was held for observation overnight. He was released this morning. He is, cleared medically in terms of neurological situations or any kind of fractures of that kind, but he was concussed, according to Sheldon Keefe, which is not surprising with the force of the incident. But Kev, it was ugly. Talk about that first, but then the reaction to the Foligno fight afterward. I want to get into that separate. Yeah. But just first the actual incident.
Well, I mean, you basically described it perfectly. It's a play that happens accidentally, but the consequences I thought were significant. I think injuries of that nature, particularly with a guy like Tavares, who's an incredibly nice man, well respected, it's like it just takes the wind out of everyone's sails. Like I thought after that Toronto wasn't quite the same, and I'm sure people were concerned about him. And I hate when that happens because it really sort of renders the game or the competition less than it might have been or could have been. Because when that happens, it kind of throws everyone for a loop.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think it's sort of, you looked at players on the bench from both sides, and it was like witnessing a car crash.
Yeah.
And so I do feel like there was that psychological part, but I do feel like after that first period, they did get back at it. Like they shook it off and did the best they could with that.
Yeah, it definitely cast a pall over the game for a bit. Obviously, until they got word to the Leafs in the locker room after the first period that he was on his way to hospital and that he was okay. There was that concern, because it really was scary. He had been cut probably by the visor. I saw some blood in some of the pictures. And of course, the reaction of, the Ottawa Sun and the Toronto Sun had a picture of Tavares on the front page. And there were some people online that were crying about the fact that it was an ugly hit and it was an ugly incident, and it's a newspaper. What are they supposed to do? Show a picture of the scoreboard? Of course they're going to show a picture of the incident. I don't get that. But
for the newspaper, I understand it. For the TV to show it 6-7 times, I don't understand it.
Kev, it was repeated more times than the Theismann injury, and I'm talking about from now.
Yeah.
The Theismann injury. It was like,
yeah, but that's just the nature of the beast now. We're in this business. We know how it is. Unfortunately, that's just the way it's going to be. It's not going to change.
No, but as for the game, and obviously Toronto is a town that is extremely reactionary game by game. The Leafs lose 2-1 on a Paul Byron.
Incredible! Let's go. Incredible goal.
It was unbelievable. And this is the funny thing. Leaf fans were sort of centering on Rasmus Sandin, the young defenseman. He was on the ice for the Josh Anderson goal. I think he was more responsible for that one because he was sort of wide and let Anderson go right up the middle. On that one, Sandin was caught flat-footed at the blue line. Byron is fast. He got by. Sandin caught up to him, did everything he possibly could to prevent him from scoring, and then one-handed Byron knocks it by Campbell. What the hell do you expect the kid to do?
Yeah, no, I think, I have often told the story, and you guys have heard me tell it, about how everything changed when we used to run to the TV sets to talk about spectacular nature of a goal. And then because coaches beat us into our head that in order for a goal to be scored, mistakes had to be made. And now we start to run the TV and we were trying to identify, who's the culprit, who made the mistake.
Right.
We all view it now. But Byron's goal is one that, to me, it's the Herculean effort of the goal that, you have to concentrate on. Because that was, I saw it on the NHL Network today. And basically the guy was just laughing about, this goal will define his career. It's just so incredible. I actually laughed. It was so spectacular,
I actually tweeted about it. I never tweet about random goals.
No, I know. It was such a, you just watch that play and your jaw, you say it's a bit cliche that it's jaw dropping, but my jaw actually did drop. I went, what? Wow. That was incredible. This is what I would say about that game though. And I know you guys both have been around. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Historically, the first game always means very little. We've seen so many times that a team will come in the underdog and they'll win that first game, and everybody goes, uh-oh. And then they settle into and we've seen it already in this playoff. Then you settle into the real series. So I didn't see anything in that first game that leads me to believe that Toronto isn't going to win.
Well, I don't know. See, I picked Montreal for a couple of reasons. I picked them for once I knew Carey Price was healthy, on the strength of Carey Price. I could check off that box that he's okay. So Carey Price looked great. I also checked it off in the sense that they built a team for the playoffs more than the regular season. Now, I think they went overboard on who they sat and who they played, but they made it a point that this is the way we're going to play in the playoffs. And it did work, at least in game one. So that was what I expected. That's another thing we could check off in the box. And then you didn't know that was going to happen with Tavares, right? When I picked it was a week and a half ago. So you don't know that. But then the other factor was Montreal has absolutely nothing to lose here, and Toronto has all the pressure. And so there is that factor too.
Okay, I don't buy that, Russ, because Bergevin is under pressure in Montreal because he built.
I mean the team and the players, not the GM.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I can say that Montreal. This is Montreal. They will burn these players in effigy if they lose.
Ask Kevin.
Well, I'm with Russ on this, Mike. There is more pressure certainly on Toronto.
I'm not saying that.
Yeah, the expectations are so high. In Montreal, as you say, it's accurate to say that they do have pressure just from being Montreal, players. Is it possible Montreal can win the series? Well, sure.
Yeah.
This is the NHL. But Toronto is definitely the better team. They will be better than they were in game one. I don't think, the Tavares thing sort of altered reality there for a while. And even though they were told pretty early that he was okay, some time was lost when no one knew what was going on. And I think that was important time. I think it took some time to get their momentum. So, I just sort of dismissed that game. Now, Montreal comes out and wins game 2 convincingly. Well, then we can talk about it. But I wouldn't read too much into game 1. That's my only point. We've learned historically that a win in game 1, while you need that game 1 before you win the second game and the third and the fourth, it's really not as important. Talk to me when we're in game 4, and then
I agree. The only thing is Montreal can make the biggest change lineup wise compared to the two teams if they put Cole Caulfield in the game and he's on their power play, because their power play stinks without him, and I guarantee it'll be a lot better with him. And if they decide to do that, that could really change things.
When's the last time that you can remember a lineup omission that has created as much buzz as
I know?
It's really remarkable. I don't even know. It's hard for me to. I try it because I think it's fun exercise to try to put yourself in the position of the guy who makes the decision and then make your own case for doing that. I really can't do that. I don't know any case, and because I think it's silly to say, well, I'd rather go with the experienced guys.
Yeah, I do.
I think I've seen plenty of experienced guys that I wouldn't want to put in a playoff game.
This guy has the best shot on the team.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't know how you can even remotely justify that. And it's not like he hadn't done it before. He's not stepping out of college into the playoffs. We've seen him, and we saw him score 3-on-3 goals, and then we said, okay, well, we got to see him do something 5-on-5. Well, we saw him do something 5-on-5. So.
Two quick notes. At practice this morning, Nick Foligno moves to the middle on the second line between Alex Galchenyuk and William Nylander. So the Leafs are adjusting to the absence of Tavares by moving Foligno to the middle, adding Galchenyuk and Pierre Engvall to their lineup, sitting Riley Nash after one game. I was a little confused why they put Riley Nash in at the beginning after he had never played a game for the Leafs, but that was just.
I think they just wanted to get him in there so they can start to rotate guys and see who the best guy. They're going to probably rotate 2 or 3 players every game.
Yeah, and Jack Campbell was out for a maintenance day, so he will start game 2. I thought he played well, so I don't think
he was good.
Yeah,
don't you wish that life was really like that?
Yeah,
that you could take a maintenance day, you get up and your wife says, I really need you to do this, and you say, I'm sorry, I'm having a maintenance day today. I've got to clip my fingernails or I got to get to I need a tune-up. So I'm going down to Charlie's pub because I need a tune-up.
Yeah, there is one more thing that I noticed, Kev, in this game. And I think Mike got to the part of it that's true. There was a point where Jason Spezza was sort of heaving in this game, tired when he took a bad penalty. And I do wonder, even Simmons almost was goaded into a penalty by Corey Perry. I know these are guys you want out there at certain times, but I still wonder, do the Leafs have too many older, slower, those kinds of guys out there at the same time? Because even Thornton really did nothing. What did Joe Thornton do this game?
He didn't do anything, but Russ, like I said, the loss of Tavares made them play those players more. They wanted to play Thornton and Spezza 10, 11 minutes and have them go full out. And when Tavares went down, they had to give Spezza extra shifts. They had to give Thornton extra shifts. And I don't think that was the plan. So obviously things can change during the course of the game. And, what this tells you is that these guys are definitely fourth liners, and you're not going to put Jason Spezza up to the second line. He's not 25 years old. He's 37. So,
Mike, I have a question for you. I've long known Don Waddell, and everybody has their favorite joke that they make over and over. And when you talk to Don Waddell, sometimes about goalies, he always makes the same joke about, I'm not a goalie expert. I just know that I want my goalie to look like a goalie. So when I ask him about a guy, he goes, well, to me, he looks like a goalie. So he's a good goalie. So my question to you is, and I asked this question, forming no opinion myself on it so far, is last night, did you think Campbell looked like an NHL playoff goalie?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I mean,
I felt like it too.
I thought he was. I mean, the Leafs allowed 4 breakaways in a playoff game. The Joe Armia one was basically a 2-on-0 that he missed the net. They allowed 4 breakaways. He both his goals were on breakaways. So it's like what the Leafs have to do is play better defense again. Yeah. This team has played better defense all year. If Freddie Anderson was in goal, they would have scored on those goals too. So I think Campbell is the best that they got.
Yeah, no, I as I asked the question, I thought he did too. Although I would, because I like to point this out. Harry Sinden taught me this too, that he always hates when people say, "Well, you can't blame the goalie," that when they have to face a lot of breakaways. And Harry points out, I never pay my goalie to make simple saves. I pay him a lot of money to stop breakaways because we give up breakaways. It's hockey. So
Harry didn't like paying a lot of money.
My coach tells me, "Don't blame my goalie. We gave up too many breakaways." I'd say, then why am I paying him? I'm paying him to stop the breakaways.
The only thing, Kev, Harry didn't like paying a lot of money to anybody.
No, that's right. He wasn't paying for the hard or the easy saves. No, you're right. When you're right, Russ.
Okay, let's check in on all the other series here, starting with some of the games from last night. The Panthers get off the mat, down 5-3 in the third period, tie the game, and win on an unbelievable breakaway goal by all people, Ryan Lomberg, who's, he's not exactly Alexander Barkov or Huberdeau. So Panthers come back 6-5. Now it's a series, 2-1. Kevin,
massive win.
Massive win. The thing that is bizarre about this series is game 1, Bobrovsky, game 2, Dredger, and then game 3 they pull Dredger and they go back to Bobrovsky. Joel, can you make your mind?
And it was I thought, Bobrovsky only I think had 9 shots or something, but he was good and he was flawless, and I thought it was probably an important 9 shots for him. Like that was a huge win for a Florida franchise that played well and deserves where they're at. And I can't say enough about Bill Zito. He's done an incredible job there. My only caution for everybody's awful excited is if you're going to need 6 goals to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning, you're still probably in trouble because they're not going to give up that many goals very often as well as they played. The other thing I want to bring up, the Lomberg goal, another spectacular goal.
Yes.
Like this kid's undrafted. He's brought in, certainly not, and I'm going to say something that I hate when players say it, but he's not brought in for his goal scoring touch.
Right.
He's brought in because he's spunky and he plays gritty and he provides energy on those bottom lines and everything else. And what a lovely goal! He gets a step on the outside. He's in upstairs. He goes and boom. Changed everything.
The playoffs can make you, rise to the occasion, and
it was spectacular, and it was a very entertaining game. What's the odds that Vasilevsky would give up that many goals?
Well, that's the concern on the Tampa part that I saw online this morning, Russ, is the fact that Vasilevsky gave up 4 goals in game 1 and now 5 goals or 6 goals in a comeback win for Florida in game 3. This is not the Vasilevsky who some people thought should have won the Conn Smythe last year.
Or is it that Florida does have a good offense, which they do? It's like sometimes
it's all of the above, but in the playoffs we overcook everything. And, are we really worried about Vasilevsky's ability to stop the puck? We're not. Could he be in a slump? Yeah, maybe he could, but I wouldn't worry about that.
Still stopping the pucks at the right time, right? That's still what it's about for the goalie.
He's still a great goalie. And that was just a fun game, and there was a lot of defensive mistakes. I love mistakes. I'm just such a huge fan of mistakes in all of sports. Like
Wait,
people,
so when you hold on, so you're such a fan of mistakes when you come out with a new book and you open it up and there's a typo.
not my own mistakes.
Oh, okay.
And in sports, I love mistakes. Now let me ask you this: don't you love missed tackles?
Yes,
I love missed tackles. Like people talk about it, and they turn up their nose. Oh, it was just a missed tackle.
Only against the Bills.
Did the guy run 20 yards? Because that's what if I'm not invested in the outcome and I just want to watch the game, I love missed tackles. I love when the defenseman gets beat in hockey. Mm-hmm. If I'm not invested in the outcome. Now there's a little bit of difference in that.
No, I get it.
Only when it's a Jets linebacker on a Bills running back do I love missed tackles. The one other thing was now I don't know if it's injury related or if this is just a return of what happened at the beginning of the regular season, but Keith Yandel was a scratch yesterday for the Panthers. They went with Strawman, Gudis, Forsling, Uyghur, Montour, and Nudavara on defense. So that's without now your defense without Ekblad and Yandel.
Well, but maybe they felt like Yandel was a little too loose with the puck again, and maybe this is another Quenneville message to him. That's the way I take it.
Controversy.
I'm sorry. Does Quenneville not cause his own controversy? He does.
Always. And I'm not going to contradict you because you might be absolutely right. I have no idea, but
I don't know either. I'm just
I'm waiting I want to talk about the Pittsburgh game. So
that game was amazing.
Now I'll tell you something. I think Boston, Washington, and Pittsburgh Islanders have been the two best series so far. And last night was just nip and tuck. Pittsburgh up 3-1. Islanders come back, score 2 goals, 3-3. Pittsburgh goes up 4-3 on a Jeff Carter goal, 4-4. Then Brandon Tanev with 3 minutes and 26 or 36 seconds left to go in the third. I mean, back and forth. It was fantastic. Now, there were some errors in this game too, Kev. And again, that makes for excitement. But for somebody
there's so much in this game to unpack that I don't even know where to begin.
Well, what about the fight in front of the net? That monstrosity.
Yeah, I noticed Josh Yoshi, who's just an excellent writer and covers the Penguins. He talked about that there's more attacks on the star players. I'm assuming he meant Sidney Crosby.
Malkin and Crosby.
Yeah, Malkin and Crosby than there ever has been. I don't actually agree with that. I think it's been the same now for a while, and it's not nearly as bad as it was when Mario was playing.
Yeah, I agree. Mario, they used to mug him every time.
Yeah, and you can't slug the guys in the head anymore unless you're Tom Wilson. But but you know what I'm saying? Like you could rock guys, and you can't do that anymore. So I'm not sure what that all is about. But the things that I found so interesting about this game these games. First of all, I find and I'd love to get your opinion on this. I find Barry Trotz a pretty easy read. He's very logical in his approach, but I got no idea how he's playing his goalies. So I wouldn't even want to guess who plays next because. And I think the reason he's a little bit more unpredictable right now is he didn't like how his team was playing down the stretch.
Right.
And I think he's just trying to find the right mesh and everything else. Now, saying all that, like of the 4 teams that made the playoffs from that division, they were playing the worst, but they have competed like a son of a gun in these 2 games. Now, have they been sloppy? Yes. Mm-hmm. But they couldn't score at all late in the regular season, and they're getting goals, and they're getting the job done. So there's all that. What I really liked about the Penguins is, nobody in Pittsburgh, the fan base, the media, had any idea that Jeff Carter could still play at this level. And I was on a radio show, and I said, Jeff Carter didn't know he could still play at this level. And I mean that, and I mean it not as a negative.
No, I think there's
when you're playing for a poor team, when they're playing for nothing for a long time, you just don't raise your level the way you would when every shift matters.
No, actually, I think you're right, Kev, because like we like the move on here. We said, hey, and that was part of the reason some of us picked the Penguins because we like the Carter move. But I do feel like early on, and until he had the 4-goal game against the Sabres, people were sort of ripping on Jeff Carter like, hey, maybe he can't do it anymore. And I think he did have to sort of prove it to himself that he still could do it. And I think that's part of the reason he wanted to get traded and do that. So I do think you're right about that.
Well, it's been mutual beneficial. Like, I think he has helped energize the Penguins, although I think Brian Burke and Ron Hextall originally energized the group. I think it was such a bold, big move that everybody said, whoa, maybe we got something going here. But Carter has done that. And then I think the Penguins re-energized Carter, just like Russ said. He all of a sudden he said, I got to prove I can run with the big dog.
Right.
Well, I'll give Mike Sullivan a lot of credit for this. He has placed Carter in the right place. He's got him playing third line in between Kapanen and McCann, which is, don't put him in the top six, put him on the third line, that's fine. But then on the power play, especially in the third period, what did they have out there? They had Letang, they had Malkin, Crosby, Carter, and Gensel. That's
is there a better number three center in the playoffs? I think not. No. Not even close. No. To have that guy, and they're different kinds of players, but it's like when Jordan Stahl was the third center. To have a guy who can slide up and play in your top six when you've got issues, that you can move to the wing to give you on your second or first line if you need some help there as well. I mean, that's just such a bonus. And the other element I want to unpack here, and I was just on earlier today a Pittsburgh radio show, and they were asking me about this, and I thought it was a great topic. I'm sure everybody remembers at the end of that game how Sidney Crosby was playing. He was a defensive zealot. Now, I think Crosby has always played like that. The difference is now is his defensive skills and his understanding of the small plays that lead to success is just more refined. Like he knows when he needs to do them, when they're more important and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the diving after trying to thwart the shot at the end of the game, which, to me, just is so indicative of the type of player he is. And then the other one was going behind, getting the puck, eating time off the clock. Like it was so. And the question put to me, and I'm going to put it to you because I think it's just a fun question, is he like Steve Yzerman? And I said no because, Crosby is still pretty darn offensive, where at the end, at his age, Yzerman had sort of lost his offensive game because of the injuries.
Right.
So he isn't. But the comparison is interesting, that as Crosby has gotten older and, maybe he can't win the scoring title, but now he can do more, and he's emphasizing that more like Yzerman did when he won. And I think it's an interesting comparison. I don't think it quite works because of the reasons I stated, but
I'll tell you how I can flip it, Kev. I'll flip it not with Yzerman, but with Messier. When Messier was getting paid in that third part of his career and knew that, I'm not scoring 45 goals a season anymore, he started doing that, and all the little things, face-offs, all of that. And I saw a play yesterday with Crosby where he was all the way in the offensive zone, and then when he went back, he wasn't back checking or anything, but what he was doing was looking where the puck was going to go on the ice. He went to that area, and he eventually did block a shot that he felt like was a scoring chance. And I think because he's the smartest guy on the ice, he can do that. There's a lot of players that can't do that. That's what Gretzky used to do. He knew where the puck was going to go. I think Crosby knows where the puck is going to go at both ends, and that's what makes him so dangerous. And the other thing is when you have Malkin and Carter and Crosby late in a game, and you have to hold these big, these strong – Crosby's not big, but he's strong. The other two big bodies back, when they're so offensive and play defense too, they wear you down.
And they can all win faceoffs too.
Yeah.
The thing is, Crosby early in his career, I don't think he was the best defensive center in the league. I don't think he's going to win but now the way he's played, I'd say over the last 2 or 3 years.
Oh, I think it goes longer than that.
Maybe longer than that.
Yeah.
I think he's at a sort of Brian Trottier level, where Trottier was so good at one end of the ice and also a playmaking fiend who set up Bossy for all those 50-goal seasons.
Yeah. No, that's a good comparison, Mike. I like it.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to some of the other series. honestly, this one is the least exciting. Maybe.
Actually, we should make one more thing about the Islanders real quick. Yeah. So the reason I believe that they are still going with Varlamov over Sorokin is because Trotz is going to ride Varlamov as long as he could go, because he knows the minute he puts him on the bench, he's pretty much lost him for the rest of the series. He will decide when he puts in Sorokin, and that's when he's just going to make the shift. And that's unless there's an injury, he won't shift back. That's what I think he goes back to Sorokin if they fall behind 3-1, because then he's got nothing to lose. As for my nominee for the least exciting of the 8 series, that would be Vegas, Minnesota. Minnesota won in a bore 1-0 first game. Some great saves between Talbot and Fleury, but the last 2 games, I think Vegas has shown what it's like to play against Vegas. I think they've been dominant in the last 2 games. I mean, Minnesota did have a 2-0 lead, but you're right.
But it was didn't you feel like it was a fake 2-0 lead?
Yes, I did.
I did. Yeah. I didn't think, although saying that could have been 3-0. The offside. I mean, how bad does Bukestad feel about that? Yeah. Cause that's, 3-0.
Yeah, 3-0 is a different story.
Yeah, that's a different lead. Yeah, anybody can come back from 2 over 3-0.
3-0 makes it a lot tougher.
Well,
I think Vegas.
I tell you this though, watching them, because Stone hadn't played well, and he really hadn't played well in my opinion because Pacioretty is out, and those two work so well together. But boy, he was a leader and a force in Game 3, and now they got Stone going well. Peter Angelo, what an off-season acquisition that was, because he sort of stabilized their he did stabilize their defense. And Fleury, like I saw the graphic on the game that they put up about, and I've got the stats sort of wrong, but it's something like this. He's gone like 12 of his last 13 games. He's given up 2 or fewer goals.
Right.
Like, man, that's good goaltending.
That is.
So. He's playing at a high level. They've got it all going, and I am so looking forward to. And I'm putting the cart before the horse here, but I'm so looking forward to Colorado versus Vegas in round 2. I think that'll be a fun series.
Now, Pacioretty is still out. One interesting thing about this game, even though they scored 2 goals, the first 2 goals, Fleury only faced 16 shots on the night, which is
that's not good.
The other thing about this, I'm very bullish, and I think we all are, on the job that Guerin is doing. I think he is changing the culture, and he really shifted that team from a Suter, Parisi team to a younger team. The problem with that comes when you get in the playoffs, and Kaprizov hadn't been dominant in those first couple of games, and now all of a sudden you have to lean on a guy who's never had playoff experience. Now,
and that's where they run into trouble.
Now he did make a great pass on that first goal, but it's a little bit different because he did play 3 playoff years in the Continental League, and he is a little bit older. But still, when you're in that position, it makes it hard.
It's a different kettle of fish. I can understand having experience in the Gagarin Cup final, but
this is the way you said that. I know how you feel about it.
Yeah, it's different. Okay. Now, Carolina, Nashville. This is a battle of men against boys. We talked about the first 2 games. I mean, Nashville, the one game had 6 power plays. Could not really generate good offensive chances. Nedeljkovic, and this was the wild card here, Kev. I said if they go with Nedeljkovic, the only thing that they're dealing with there is the uncertainty of whether he's up for the task. With Mrazek, what you have. With Reimer, you're going to have a bad playoff performance followed by a good one. With Nedeljkovic, it was the unknown. Well, we've seen through 2 games, he's playing pretty damn good.
Yeah. Yeah, and to be honest with you, I was surprised. I thought they would go with Mrazek just because I thought that's the Brindamore's guy. But he's their future, and I guess he's there now as well now. So, but that team looks very impressive, and it's just a reminder. It's not like we didn't know this, but those last two games at the end of the season really didn't mean anything.
Nope.
And that team's very impressive, Carolina. Like, they've got a lot going for it, and
we still have to see what happens when Nedeljkovic's really under offensive pressure. I mean, that'll be a tell.
And that'll come next round.
Right. And you know what? If I'm Nashville, I would have made them practice without sticks. I'd be like, listen, if I've got this little offense on the team, then you'll feel that pain in practice.
Just bag skate them during the playoffs.
Yeah, I would, because I'm sorry. They're so challenged offensively. It's ridiculous.
Well, please, Eck was losing his mind when we were talking about Game 2 and the fact that, Johansson and Duchesne are not doing anything. Those are the guys you're paying your big money to. I mean, honestly, I didn't think. I mean, Yossi and Ekholm were -3 in Game 1. Their best defensemen were their worst defensemen in that game. So
scorers go to die in Nashville. That's what happened.
And Kev, this is working out perfectly for Don Waddell and the Hurricanes. If they break out the broom, and it's 2-0, so Nashville can win a game. But if they break out the broom and sweep the Predators, they have a week where they can kick up their feet and watch the Panthers and Lightning beat the crap out of each other.
Yeah.
That's
not insignificant. It's going to wear them down, and they'll be they'll be a weary team. There's no doubt. Whoever survives that, and I will assume it's Tampa, but you never know. It certainly is advantage Carolina if they can make this a short series, and now
Slavin may be hurt for this game. We don't know yet. And Max Lavoie may be making his playoff debut. We don't know yet.
Okay, quick things on a couple of these series, because Edmonton, Winnipeg, we've only got one game to refer to, but Winnipeg played a not near perfect, but pretty close to perfect playoff game. Relied on Hellebuck.
Yeah.
Scoring from guys like Tucker Pullman and Dominic Toninato, and shut down McDavid and Draisaitl. You couldn't draw it up any better than that, Kevin.
No, and I don't know any sports writer who handicapped that series that didn't have a line that said the way that Winnipeg wins this series is if Hellebuck wins it.
Right.
Because that's their advantage. I mean, they have an advantage in net that is significant. And, that showed in Game 1.
Yeah, Kev, it's crazy that after all of these seasons in Edmonton that they can't get 2 or 3 lines of scoring going. And they just can't do it.
I know, yeah.
Crazy.
Well, and especially when they got 2 of the top 3 or 5, depending on who you talk to, players in the game.
Right.
It defies, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is not bad either. So
no. The question I have regarding the Colorado Avalanche versus St. Louis Blues series is, and I don't expect you to answer this, Kevin, because you have too much class. How stupid is Nazem Kadri? Because now I won't ask you that question because I'll answer it for you. He's stupid. He's very stupid. But what I would like to know is what you think, because he's having the hearing today. It's an in-person Zoom hearing, so it could be as up to or more than 5 games. What do you think he's going to get? Because he's not a recidivist here, because the suspension that he had against the Bruins was more than 18 months ago, so that doesn't pertain. What do you think he'll get?
Well, first of all, that's a silly rule. We all know that's a silly rule.
I do. I agree.
2? 1?
Yeah, I think 3. I think he's getting 3.
Okay.
I think if it's an in-person hearing, isn't it that he has to get 4 or 5?
No, but they gave him the option. This wasn't like you have to show up in person. It was an optional. So that's why I don't think it's 5.
I mean, 3 seems reasonable. They've always historically weighted playoff games heavier.
That's more. Yes.
Yeah. So that's why I think they'd be a little reluctant, but it should be. Russ is right. It should be at least 3.
Yeah, I think it could be 4 or more, because I think they want to make sure he doesn't come back in the St. Louis series. No, I think they're going to sweep St. Louis or beat him in 5. So if you give him 3, then that probably covers the series. But if it goes into a Vegas Colorado series where I think they're going to need him
for sure,
then that's going to really hurt them.
I'm going to give you the unsung hero though for Colorado. And the day that the Rangers made this trade, I knew it was a horrible trade because I had seen Ryan Graves in the Mem Cup. I was at that Memorial Cup, and he really, if nothing else, I knew he was going to be a supreme shot blocker in this league. I knew it at that point. Well, now he's become a little more. He's got a point in 2 games. He's averaging 19 minutes a game. He's got 9 blocks. He is making a massive difference for them, for a team that really, we don't talk about their defense because we're like, well, they've got all the offensive players on defense like Girard and Makar who do play defense too. But this guy plays rock solid defense.
Yeah. For sure.
If you want to talk about drama, the Caps and the Bruins have it in spades. I love this series. I mean, there are enough hateable players on both teams. I mean, if you hate Marchand, you hate Tom Wilson, but it's an extremely entertaining series to watch. Yeah. And Game 3 with the goal that Craig Smith scored on the wraparound, and watching Ovechkin basically yelling in Russian at Samsonov as he's coming off the ice. I mean, there's enough internal drama with the Capitals to write 5 stories a week on it.
Well, and I think Ovechkin's reputation as a captain was diminished by that little performance.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to have that confrontation, it should be later in the dressing room and not now. I mean, the goalie certainly was at fault in that, and it's a reminder that if we're talking about that any one of those 4 teams are capable of surviving that division in the East, and I think they are for different reasons. But if you look and size up the goaltending there, Boston certainly has an advantage with Tuukka Rask.
Well, I mean, we would think that, Kev, logical people, and I still see headlines. Like there's a headline from the hockey writers, Tuukka Rask is not the Bruins' biggest problem. No kidding. He's got a 9% percentage. Like there's 9.26. And the other thing that I really appreciate about Rask is when he was laying those punches with the blocker the other day, they asked him about it after the game, and he goes, I knew they weren't going to call a penalty, so I figured I'd get a few shots in just because. And you know what? I can't blame the guy.
Kev, there's a disconnect between the Bruins fan base and Tuukka Rask. I know other fan bases that would take that guy every single day.
Yeah, every day. Although, I'll say, there was a musical many, many years ago on Broadway called Falsetto Land, and there was a song in it called Everyone Hates Their Parents, Now You Hate Yours Too. First time I heard it, I could only think, everybody always hates their quarterback. Now you hate yours too. Or everybody always hates their goalie. And, so I think it's just one of those things in Boston. Like most of the, pundits know that Tuukka Rask does a good job, and that as you said, everybody would be happy to have him. But in Boston, they just fault him for every puck that goes in the net, and they can't see his, his strengths. But, that goal, like that, to give up that goal in that situation for Samsonov, that really was a
I mean, we saw Ovechkin cursed him out in Russian. Like
it was not.
Cursed him out publicly.
Yeah, it was not a good performance.
Actually, it was a good performance up to that point. He played well.
Yeah.
And then
it was not a good performance by Ovechkin.
No.
Yeah, oh no, that's true.
Yeah.
And Russ, are you ready to recant on your Taylor Hall criticism?
Yeah, I mean, this is the Taylor Hall you're expecting to see, but I needed him to show me. I did. So, yeah. No problem.
Okay, couple news and notes before we end the show. News came out this morning. A few days ago, it came out Jim Benning would be back. Now it's been reported that Travis Green has been signed in Vancouver to a multi-year extension. So that's one potential coaching opening knocked off there, Kev. I mean, honestly, I think there was more material to get rid of Benning than to get rid of Green.
Yeah, I would say that too. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Benning, there's a complication there. I mean, I think let's look at Pittsburgh, where I thought that's a perfect marriage between Burke and Hextall because both those guys have strengths, and I think that's what's missing in Vancouver. Like Benning does a great job of talent evaluation, and bringing in young players and knowing what the game plan should be for developing them. But he is not strong in the day-to-day operation as a GM. Like I don't feel confident that he could make bold trades or that kind of thing. So I almost feel like they'd be better served to bring in somebody to work with him. Sort of like that we have in Pittsburgh, because the marriage is good in Pittsburgh, where you have a bombastic, aggressive guy in Burke, and then you have a good draft guy, smart guy, reasonable, logical guy. So
I think they did that in Jeff Portnoy, and it's just he's not a guy steeped in that kind of experience, Kev. But I think that was what their attempt was.
Yeah, but I think you need a guy over Benning as opposed to.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
The other report.
Actually, Mike, before the report,
go ahead.
Funky has a good point. We should ask Kevin, because he had to be surprised that Jeff Blashill got an extension.
Yes.
No, actually, I wasn't.
You told us you thought he'd be gone.
No. What I said was, no. You got to go back and play. What I said was, Yzerman really likes him, and he said as much as he liked him in the middle of the season that he but what I said was I still wasn't confident he was going to keep him.
Right. Okay. You did say that.
And I thought that maybe Yzerman would just make a move to make a move. But as it turned out, we should have just listened to exactly what Yzerman said, which is, that he liked him. And I thought it was telling that Blashill basically said in his conference that there's nothing that gets done on this team that Yzerman doesn't know about, which was a nice way of saying, all your people saying that he shouldn't be playing the veterans, he should be playing the younger guys. He was basically saying Yzerman endorsed that or went along with that. So, because everybody thinks Yzerman walks on water in Detroit.
Kevin Allen says, "Go to the tape, Russ Cohen."
Yeah.
Now, the other speculation here, coaching wise, Pierre LeBrun reported a couple hours ago that Rick Tocchet and Bruce Boudreau will be interviewed for the Buffalo Sabres position, that Don Granato is still in the mix. Kev, I would really hate to be Don Granato in this situation.
Yeah.
I think he wants the job, but if they're interviewing people, Don, just stay there, wait around a while, and then how long are you gonna wait? And he's got really
it's insulting. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know the way around it. I mean, I guess if you're Granato, you tell yourself, or at least they're thinking about me, but it feels like they're saying if we don't like anybody else, we'll keep you. But
right, that's what they are saying.
Yeah, but Rick Tocchet, he's going to be impressive. So
he will be impressive. Here's the thing I guess I don't like about it. They're not giving Don a chance to get another job by taking all this time.
No, that's exactly right. Problem. So, and that's what happened in Detroit. The longer it went on, the more likely it was that Yzerman was going to keep him, because you were preventing Blashill from going after that Buffalo job, and I don't think they would do that. So
right.
All right, guys, great show. We're going to have a weekend full of hockey. I just saw online that Latvia is beating Canada at the World Championships, Russ. It's only 1-0, but
is that on the NHL Network this year?
What's that?
Is that on the NHL Network this year?
I think it is. I'll definitely turn it on when we get off the.
I'm a big Latvia fan. Let's go Latvia.
Yeah, it could. Yeah. Let's see. I'm just looking here. This is IIHF, so I don't know whether that's the NHL Network.
I think I really like the center there, Laka Gravis. I really like him.
Stop it. For Kevin Allen, for Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thank you
very much.
And this is the Hockey Buzzcast. Oh boy, you threw me off there, Russ. Without the buzz, it's just hockey.